This is Goals with Soul, the podcast for visionary coaches and entrepreneurs, building your business with inspired action. In alignment with your mission and authentic message, so you can create impact for your soul clients and feel lit up every day. I'm your host, Jo Ingram, married mum of 3 daughters from London and a former ad agency director turned business coach and strategist. In Goals with Soul, we blend revenue generation with energetics, marketing strategies with pranic healing, and ambitious business goals with our soul's desires. If you're looking to build your business with less efforting and more ease, this is the podcast for you. Let's dive in. Welcome to Goals with Soul. I'm Jo Ingram, and as a brand messaging specialist, I'm frequently asked about brand design. Now, I'm going to be straight up with you here and say I am no expert on brand design specifically, but I do believe it is an important and intrinsic part of leveling up your brand and attracting your soul clients. So today, I'm so excited to be speaking specifically to Elizabeth Averyanova, who specializes in brand design. Elizabeth helps purpose-driven female entrepreneurs and coaches to scale their business with impactful, beautiful branding and design to attract their dream clients and elevate their online presence. Her branding and design studio is called Studio Classica, and she specializes in strategic all-in-one Kajabi websites, high-converting sales pages, and online coaching program launches. She's helped numerous coaches and women entrepreneurs with 6-figure online coaching programs launch, create effective landing pages, and optimize their behind-the-scenes business systems to free up time from daily tasks without the overwhelm. Sounds good, and I was so keen to dive into this because when I help people with messaging clarity, it's all about not only the clarity, but also the confidence. And that's where branding design can really make a difference. In this interview, Elizabeth is going to share the 3 biggest mistakes you can make for your design when you're first starting out, as well as the power of branding design for getting you clients. And right at the end, we talk a little bit about Kajabi as a platform, which I know can be a real minefield about when to invest and how it can really serve your business. And we also really dived in to what colors should you use, what fonts should you use, and what are the best way that you could create consistency in your brand on Instagram now. So without further ado, let's dive in. Welcome, Elizabeth. I'm so happy to have you here.
Hi, Jo. Thank you so much. I'm excited to talk today.
And I'm excited because I've been thinking a lot about branding design at the moment. So this was a fortuitous timing to be speaking with you today. So many people have been asking me, because I focus on brand messaging, about the brand design piece. And whilst it's not my area of expertise, I'm really fascinated by how we can bring our branding design into more of how we express our message. So I would love to know from you right now, before we dive into more detail, how important is branding design when it comes to building a coaching business?
So I love talking about branding, and branding can be a game changer in your online presence and in attracting dream clients and booking those clients. And, it can literally be the difference between you booking a 5-figure client or even 6-figure contract and not being the one to get that contract. So branding is huge. The visual way you look on your website and your social media, it's a huge importance. But of course, the messaging must come along with it.
And how exactly does someone go about it? Now, obviously, you're from a design agency, which is awesome because you're going to know all the details. But oftentimes people start out without the budget or the inclination to prioritize the branding, but they still want to come across as professional and express really who they are. What can people do about that?
So I would first point out maybe the 3 biggest mistakes I usually see when you are starting out with the branding, because that's where you think you need to give attention, but it's, these are the 3 biggest mistakes I see. So one is focusing way too much time on your logo. When it comes to social media, like the logo design, I'm going to say it is not that important. For booking clients, is not that important. If you try to think of the logo of like your coach or or of different people you follow online, you probably might not even come to mind. So I would say don't even give emphasis on your logo. The second mistake I see is way too many random templates being used. So let's talk, Canva. Let's talk about Canva. It's a great tool, amazing tool. You should be using it. Check it out. But it's so easy to go down the rabbit hole of looking in Canva at all these beautiful designs, all these different templates. And it makes it so easy to choose one and start using it. But then what I see on people's social media is a whole mix of different types of templates, different fonts, different styles. So when you're at the beginning and you're trying to figure out the branding piece, those two things don't do.
I hear you. And I've done both of those. So hands up.
Yes. We've all gone through it. So I'm trying to just save you the time to not do that. And, and let's just say like the third biggest mistake is spending way too much time trying to DIY a website in a very technical sort of way. And just the amount of time you're sinking into it is time that you're not attracting clients. You're not focusing on how can I better tell my story, better tell my message. And you're just worrying about the design and tech of your website. So those are the three biggest things I see with like early entrepreneurs who are trying to figure out this branding piece.
That is such good advice. Thank you, Elizabeth. And I'm thinking at the moment about the middle one that you just said about pulling random templates off of Canva. And of course, they look so professional. But before long, you've got a whole mix and match of stuff going on your social media feed. And what I'm hearing is that consistency is really important in design. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about why that is. What's so important about that consistent brand design?
So consistency is everything. And you're going to hear that a lot. You've probably heard it before many times, but consistency helps people recognize you. It helps people recognize your post when it comes up. If they're scrolling on Instagram and they see these certain colors and they always identify it with you. If you're consistent, that's what you want. They identify this kind of look or colors or feeling of the way you do your Instagram post with you. And that helps create loyalty, that helps create recognition, and that helps create familiarity. So all of that is building the factor, the know, like, trust factor. It's building those factors with your audience. So that's why consistency is huge.
So good. Because I worked in advertising agencies for nearly 20 years.
That's amazing.
And in that space, it's obvious that branding consistency needs to be in place, and advertisers are spending millions and millions of dollars sometimes months, but every year, it's just trying to build their brands. And one of the biggest measures of success is actually brand recognition. And yet we don't transfer all those great learnings enough into our personal brand space. And arguably, we need the boost more than any other big brand out there, because as solopreneurs and new coaches, it's vital that we create know, like, and trust and build that recognition. And it's seemingly such a simple way that we can give ourselves that boost, and yet so often overlooked.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're Canva is just it's almost addicting to like sit there and scroll through all the templates, but you have to, let's say, draw a line, or you have to make a decision on what is your brand style. What are your colors? What are your fonts? It's easy to want to change them. Oh, you have a new, you change your mind, your mood changes, the season changes, but you really need to commit, choose colors, and at least for 6 months, at least for, let's say, 6 to 12 months, stick with the same look.
Now, I know how important that advice is, but I also know that if you'd have told me that 6 months or a year ago, I would have felt quite a lot of resistance, because committing to brand colors feels like one of those things that feels difficult to do, particularly in your first year. It's like you kind of feel like a little magpie. I don't know, perhaps we only say that in the UK. You're attracted by all the shiny things. And you're like, oh, now I want those colors. And you get very influenced by other people in the niche and other influences you see online. And you think, oh, I should look like this, or I should look like that. Which, from my area of specialism, which is that early messaging uniqueness and creating exactly who you are online. Once that's in place, there's no reason why you couldn't invest in working with a brand designer, or on your own, make that commitment, because you can identify exactly what you want to express and who you are within the online world. So do that work first if you haven't already done it, because it was a game changer for me. And I know that many people, once they've reached that point, can then commit to actually making those brand design decisions. And it's easy for you to say, Elizabeth, because you're the expert, that we should have a visual identity. But let's say we've got to the point where, yes, we know who we are and we feel really confident, we've got the clarity. How exactly do you go about creating a visual identity?
It's a process, it's a mixture of intuition and strategy. And at least from a designer perspective, a trained, experienced designer, that's my perspective. And it's a mixture of developing somebody's brand identity. It's a mixture of the strategy and intuition. But let's say, you want to DIY it, which is totally fine. It's totally possible in the beginning. But I would say as soon as you're able to, bring on an outside expert on the branding piece. But in the beginning or in the first year or two, figuring out your brand visual identity, it begins with the process of, after you've done the messaging process and the who you are process. It also is important to know who your ideal client is. And, that's probably part also of what you're saying, Joe, but who your ideal client is and what attracts them or what relates to them or what makes them feel, a connection to you. And it makes sense. So if your ideal audience is, let's just say in general, women, because we're here together, you might want a more feminine palette, or you might want a certain twist to it. But let's say you probably are not going to, in general, attract a bunch of men if your color palette is pink in general, let's say. That's just the way our society is, right? So a great place to start with choosing your color palette is to go on Pinterest and to create a collection of images that relate to you, who you are, and who your ideal client is as well. And so this is a really easy exercise. You may have heard it before, but go on Pinterest, make a mood board, an inspiration board of images you like. In general, you will start to see a trend. Occasionally, with our clients, we have them do this exercise. And occasionally, we don't see a clear pattern. In that case, we have to dig deeper. But in general, most people, you will see a specific trend of the colors, of the style, of the visual feeling that you're going after. And usually it becomes quite clear after doing this. So just take 10, 20 minutes to do this kind of exercise, and you'll start to see, okay, I have a clear color palette coming out of this collection. And that's the exercise I recommend if you're not quite sure of what you want, because some people are very clear. Okay, I definitely don't like orange that much. So you will never see me, or generally never see me, use this color. You probably will already have personal colors that you definitely don't like and that you do like. But as we try to hone in, this is a great exercise. From there, I would give a good rule of thumb for choosing colors is to choose 5 colors and 3 of them in kind of a similar color range and the other 2 in a different color range that's complementary. So that's just a rule of thumb, but choose 3 in one direction, like in one color's range. So for example, like a dark teal blue, maybe a medium teal blue, and like a really, really light pale teal blue, for example. Then choose 2 other colors that are in a complementary range. So let's go with pink. So I usually like to choose like a darker and a lighter pink. So you want to choose a range of colors, but not 8 colors, not 10 colors, but like 4 or 5 colors. And then you want to make sure that there's dark tones and light tones that go together.
Amazing. And is it true that certain colors, well, I know it to be true, but I know we all get a little bit stuck on this, that if you're trying to express a certain personality about your brand, that there are typical colors that lend themselves very well to that kind of feeling. I know that I went with some very muted colors early on, but actually felt that my energy was a little bit higher than that. So I picked stronger colors, which I'm now using, which I feel really, really good about, so that they express better who I am. But like as a rule of thumb, are there particular colors that we should associate with, particular expression of our personality?
That's a great question. So absolutely, that's where the strategy comes in and a bit of the intuition comes in, where there's a whole, color theory and color psychology behind different colors. And certain colors are much more high energy. Certain colors are calmer. So that's also a big part of it. And that's where if you work with a professional designer, they bring all that knowledge to that decision-making process. And so it's much deeper and it's much more strategic. If you are DIYing it, of course, you may or may not understand that. But, even you, Joe, you understood like, these are higher energy colors. This is where I am right now. I want to, this is my direction. And so that felt right. And I love your palette, and I can definitely feel that from you too with your colors.
Well, that's good to know.
So it communicates your energy even just through the color choice. So yes, that's a great question.
And going back to social media, because we're all on social media. Some of us have built websites, some of us want to build websites, but 99% of us are on social media because if you are an online coach building an online business, you do have to create some awareness and visibility online. So thinking about all the things we've just talked about color theory and bringing your brand to life and being consistent, what are general ways that we can online really up our game when it comes to our branding design?
Yes. So, but number one, have consistency with your colors and your fonts. And number two is have a consistency with your visual style. And so part of that is not going on Canva and choosing random templates, but at the very least, go on to, for example, Etsy is a great source, or another one is like creativemarket.com. Go on these places and spend, 20 or 30 pounds or dollars, and buy a templates pack that has a whole set of coaching specific social media graphics that you can use in your posts. And you go and then you need to go and customize them with the colors and fonts you've chosen. But that is a great starting point to help create consistency with your social media.
And that is exactly what I did quite a lot of months ago now. But before somebody told me to, I had no idea. I was doing exactly what you just said, don't do in Canva and trying to adapt them. But then once I bought a template pack, and like you said, they're not expensive. I just had a complete range of different formats and how-tos and inspirational quote posts and all the different things that you want for Instagram and elsewhere, just all there in one pack. So I love the fact that even as a professional designer, you can see that there's and recommend DIY things for us to do.
Yeah, start in the right direction. So get a set of templates. It will help you stay consistent. It will help you save time, like a massive amount of time, because you just go in and customize the same templates. And you will save time, and you will then be able to post more frequently on social media. You will have a regular posting schedule. And from there, sell your services, attract clients, and grow your business. So it's a chain effect. So having that consistent, beautiful branding, it really has a big impact on the overall business success.
Yeah. And you mentioned fonts when you talk about branding. And I can't let you go without a quick question about fonts, because it's one of those weird things that we get really stuck in as well. The amount of times that I've Googled how to pair this font with that font and working out how to, make it look really great and on brand. And it feels like one of those mysterious kind of things, understanding fonts. Is it as complicated as all that? How could we approach it?
Well, it is. I love the history of typography, and it's a really deep subject, honestly. But let's just say really easy rule of thumbs. So there's different generally categories of fonts. There's like serif fonts, sans serif fonts, calligraphy, script fonts. Those are the three main ones we can point out. If you're not familiar, like serif fonts, it's like, think about Times New Roman. So in general, that's a much more traditional font, a much more serious, more professional. So if that's kind of the vibe or the energy you want to give with your message and your business, it's let's say a very traditional and, serious approach. Maybe you're using kind of that category of fonts. If you want to do like much more modern feeling, you're more, contemporary, more forward thinking, the sans serif fonts is the word, it's more like, a really boring one, but it's like Arial font. That category is much more modern feeling. But of course, then it's okay, how do you pair the fonts? Like you said, it is an art, but you can go on Google and find anything you need. You can go search good font pairings or Google font pairings, and you can visually look at different fonts that go together. Then I talked about the script fonts, so like the handwritten fonts. Some people like them, some people don't. Some people use them with their branding. We do in our branding, but generally I don't use it for like a lot of text. You don't want it to be hard to read. So the script font, it does add a nice feminine touch, a nice elegant touch, but it's you don't want a lot of text with this kind of a handwritten font.
And that's a really good point, because so often I see coaches over stylized and actually not expressing themselves in a way that we can understand. There's just too much text or too much italics, and they're in a position where they think that the styling is more important than the substance. So, hey, y'all, really it's about what you have to say first and foremost. And then really design should enhance your personality and your message rather than swallow you up because you focus so much on the design before all else.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing I see is like people choosing too many fonts. So, 5 or 6 fonts, that's too many. Just stick with 3 main fonts is what I would recommend.
Cool. So we've talked about colors and we've talked about fonts. And I'd also love to get your view on photography because I recently had my first professional photo shoot and I left it way too long because obviously the whole pandemic thing got in the way. But I think I kind of left that as an excuse for longer than I should have done. And I'm all for the belief that we shouldn't let anything stop us. If we have a message and we have something that is ours to serve our ideal clients, just get out and do the work and start the business. But there comes a point where there's a real difference between homemade photography and expressing yourself with a great set of professional photos. And I was wondering, as you design websites and, do the design, how important photography is and how often people should use it.
If you're serious about your business, get a photo shoot ASAP. As soon as you can afford it, as soon as it's possible, do it. I wish we had done it so much sooner in our business, like in our own design business, which was my husband and myself. We run our business and now we have a team. But early in the business, we were too scared to even show our face. We're afraid to even do photographs, let alone a professional shoot. So that created a situation where we had a really long timeline in building our success and in building our business. And I think if we had shown our face sooner, we create that relatability with our clients, it would have made a difference for sure. And then we got to the stage, okay, we do need photographs. And so we DIY'd the photographs. We had a whole photo shoot set up, but we had a self timer on, a big DSLR camera. We did the self timer. And okay, I thought those were so great and we used them, but then we did an actual professional shoot, let's say 2019, about 3 years ago now. We did a professional shoot. I took a lot of time to plan out the outfits that I would wear. I planned out all my husband's outfits. I made sure they were color coordinated with each other and then with our brand colors too. So I chose outfits based on our brand colors. And anyways, we did this photo shoot and then I started using those photos on our website and on our social media. Actually, it took me a year to start using those photos because I was still afraid to show our face on photos. And I know that's the whole mental journey, a whole thing of getting more confidence of even showing your face on your photos. So it took me a year to start using those photos that we got, which sounds crazy because we paid for the photo shoot. But it took a year to start using them. Once I started using them, if on my Instagram account, if you scroll back, I used to only post photos of architecture, photos of buildings, because that's my background is in architecture. So I would only post photos of buildings. Then I started using those photo shoot photos. I started promoting my web and branding design services. And in that first month, I booked $5,000 in sales of web design projects. I'm really, really confident it was, it's from, I do good quality work, but from having professional photos and having professional look, that instantly builds trust. And people were like, yes, I want to work with you. It was a huge difference just from using those photos.
I can completely relate to that. I had a really similar experience. I was a bit scared of being visible. And I think for me also, I felt like, who am I to spend hundreds of dollars on professional photographs of myself? I was a person that before I even launched my online business, wouldn't even be in the family photographs. There are no photographs of me up in the house. I think it's not uncommon for women to feel that way, particularly mums. And we get in this vibe where showing up and spending money on ourselves and promoting ourselves is certainly not natural. So you kind of have to make a big shift in order to invest in yourself, to actually go to the point where you say, I am worth it. And what I'm doing requires me to up level and be more professional, more visible. And this is obviously the first way of going about it is the photography.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And now when we do website projects, I don't absolutely require it for our clients, but I encourage them. I motivate them. I really push my clients to get those photos scheduled, to get a photo shoot scheduled so that we have professional photos to work with when creating web design projects. And it does make a huge difference.
And when we talk about it making a difference, I'm really thinking about it making two different differences. First one you just mentioned, which is that people who then visit your website, see your social media, perceive you as someone that absolutely is on top of their game. You're very highly professional and clearly of someone that they're going to be attracted to and they're going to want to work with. But I also think that it's a real boost for yourself because the level of confidence you feel once you've created your brand in all its ways is really unrivaled. And I know when I work with clients who lack clarity on their brand message, when we create that brand clarity, they go out in the world and they're able to talk about it and articulate it. They instantly attract more clients or new clients or paying clients or whatever it is that their next level is. But additionally, from the clarity, they've got this level of confidence that they've not felt before. And I've seen that step forward with messaging clarity and step forward again when they have brand design. And whatever it means that as they show up, they just feel like, yes, I got this. I know that I know what I'm talking about. I know I look like I know what I'm talking about as well.
Yeah. So the importance of photographs, it's in confidence, it's in booking those clients. Again, it also helps you save time because you don't have to search on social media, what photo should I use? I go to my collection and I choose one, and it's really, really great.
And talking about saving time, I know your baby must be 6 months old now?
Yes.
and like you've got 2 little ones. And I know I'm a mum in business as well. And you're leading this design agency now. Like, how do you combine it all and make sure that your business is still moving forward and you're getting to spend time with your family?
It's a big juggling act, right? But we've been running our business for 10 years. And then now we have 2 little kids. And so we really had to shift how we do things, how things are structured, how our days are structured. And I'm like hyper organized. That's one way to make it all happen. Everything is in the planner or in the Google Calendar to the minute almost. So that helps a lot. It's a constant process of knowing how can I be more efficient, or how can I delegate better, or what do I not need to focus on right now? And I track my time. I track it every week and I know where I'm spending my time. And a year ago, I would be spending about 50 to 70 hours a week on my business. and I love working. I make no apologies about it. I love working. I love working on my business. I love designing. But 50 to 70 hour weeks is not possible when I have a 6-month-old baby. And so I'm able to focus it down to 20 to 30 hour weeks. And that's so hard because I want to do more always, but it's a juggling act and balancing what to focus on and what not to focus on right now.
It's so true. And I typically find as well that sometimes I get out of balance and there's always a sharp kick that the universe sends that says, you're doing it wrong. And that could turn up like really unhappy children who are bickering a lot and are frustrated. And you're like, what's wrong with them? And you suddenly realize that you haven't really spent any quality time with them recently and you need to shift things. And it can come as well when, I'm feeling out of balance and I feel really frustrated. And I suddenly check myself. I'm just like you, Elizabeth, when it comes to organization. The Google Calendar is like the Bible for my week. So I'm with you, but it is a challenge. And it's a lot about loving what you do. Absolutely. You have to adore what you do. And just like you, I could put so many more hours in if I just had more hours to give. But instead, I've lent more recently on this idea of quantum shifting, which just says, well, look, I need to get further without spending more hours. So what exactly does that take? And sometimes it's just a total shift in outlook and confidence. You just say, I'm not available for this anymore. I'm not going to be spending time on that. I'm just going to be spending time on these things, which magically light you up and then lead to movement in your business that you didn't anticipate.
I like that. That's great. Yeah.
Now, listen, before I wrap up, I just need to sneak an extra question in here because I know that you're an expert on Kajabi. And a lot of people I work with have the big question, which is which platform shall I use? And they're not cheap. Kajabi is the platform that I prefer. It's where I keep my Time to Rise program and all the other things that I've promoted over the years. And I know that making that decision could be quite hard. So I would love for you to just break it down for us, if that's okay with you, and just say what is it about and why should we invest in it?
So, okay, a quick question about Kajabi. That's the platform that, Joe uses. That's the platform we're using and a lot of my clients are using for their business, especially if you're creating courses or a membership or a paid digital masterclass that's like a paid thing or mini classes. So it's really specific to the kind of offer you have. And it's also great for coaches who have these kind of programs as well. And Kajabi, it's a great choice because you can have everything in one platform. You can streamline your time. You can save a lot of time in this way. You streamline everything with one tool, and you can scale with that one tool, because a lot of things I see is people starting their business and they go with what's the cheapest platform I can get started with, and they choose some platform, but then they realize, they also need an email marketing tool. So then they choose an email marketing tool and it's a different tool. And then they realize they need to figure out how to do payments. And so they tie in something else. So there's a lot of different tools start to add up. And at the beginning, they might be cheaper, they might be free, or they might have cheaper levels, of the plans you can sign up for. But then as you start to have success in your business and you start to grow your business, which we all want to have success and grow, but maybe sometimes we're afraid of that, because if you start growing on those tools, sometimes you have to jump up to the next plan level and you have to start paying more for those tools. Kajabi is a great platform where you can have it on one system, and they have also these tiers, but you have a lot more potential with it to grow your business. So yeah, Kajabi is a great platform. If you're trying to decide, is it worth the investment? You have to, do the math for the first year of business, but also take into consideration the second and third year of business, when you start to have success in your business.
And so a lot of people are holding back a little on that first investment, because once you get on that monthly subscription, you have to keep it up. And I definitely encourage people not to jump in before they're ready to actually use the platform. But for you, and you work with a lot of people who are on this platform, at what point would you say, now's the time, make the investment, because you can't grow unless you get into that platform at this point?
A great point to make that investment is when you have a paid offer that makes sense for Kajabi and you have an audience who is ready to buy that offer. So for example, a course or membership, and you're really ready to seriously create that course. So you're not just signing up for Kajabi for the sake of it because you hear us talking about it, but you're ready to use Kajabi for its purpose to help you make more money and at the same time to help you create a really nice client experience for those people signing up for that paid offer. So at that point, you should sign up. So that could be early stage in your business, or maybe you've already been in business for a while. But as soon as you have a paid, a way that you want to use Kajabi to help you make more money and to help you save time, then that's a great point to join.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I definitely found that when you first start out and you're scared of making the investment, there are workarounds. If you've got some video training, you can put it up free in YouTube. If you want to take payment, you can send someone a PayPal link. But there comes a point where you just can't scale without automating and to make things a lot simpler for you. And it comes sooner than some people realize. As soon as you have a video program or an audio program, for example, that you want to share and you want to sell, you can actually take the payment on the platform. Then you can share the video training, and you can even see how much of the training your clients have actually got through. It's so full of stuff. I'm not even aware of half the stuff, but that stuff that I have used, I absolutely adore, and I wouldn't go back. And I know that I made a decision because of the customer experience, because when I was using Kajabi as a client for when I was working with other coaches and on courses, I found it visually and organizationally a really, really good tool. And I love how you said that, you can make cheaper decisions. But I realized that if I did that, I would have to lift everything out of that tool and into Kajabi later, because I would want to scale into that. So I did make a decision at that point to make that investment. So I hope that that's just cleared up some questions that I know a few of you have had about Kajabi in general. And if you do want to know more about it, just DM myself or Elizabeth. And Elizabeth particularly will be able to give you some very, very pointed advice on exactly why you should go with Kajabi and what you can get out of it. And so look, as we wrap up now, Elizabeth, I would love to invite you, as I do all my guests at the end of Goals with Soul, and ask, what inspired action can anybody take right now when it comes to branding design that's going to move them forward this week?
So I would take 5 minutes, do a quick audit of your social media. If you have a website, that's great. But let's just say you don't have one. Just focus your social media. Do a quick audit. Are you using consistent colors? Let's just look at the last 9 posts. Are you using consistent colors on at least 5 to 6 of those posts? Are you using the same fonts on those posts, or are you mixing fonts? So do a quick audit of your Instagram, the last 9 posts, and then take the lessons we talked about with colors, the fonts, and the photos, and audit. Okay, are you doing that or are you not? What can you do better? What can you improve? Do you need to make, more concrete decisions about those things, so you can stay consistent?
Yeah, consistency is so important across the board when it comes to showing up in online business. And this is just something that's so simple, but so easily overlooked. So I so appreciate you shining a light on that today, Elizabeth. And thank you for being my guest. Could you please share where people can find you online?
Yes, thank you. It's been a pleasure. I am most active on Instagram and on our website. My Instagram is just my name, Elizabeth Averyanova, on Instagram. And our website is studioclassica.com, which will be live very soon.
Amazing. And in case you need a little help spelling Elizabeth's last name, you can actually find the link in the show notes. So you can just click on there and go and check out her designs on her Instagram feed. Thank you again, Elizabeth. It's been an absolute pleasure. I loved this interview and especially the prompt at the end from Elizabeth for us to take a peek at our own social media and really consider what consistent brand design elements we are pulling through. And it doesn't have to be hard to make a start in really projecting who you are online through your brand design. And if you are still at the early stages of not knowing what your brand message is, not really expressing the real you, getting close to your ideal soul clients and creating offers that light you up and sell like hotcakes, then we should chat. And as always, I'm going to drop my link in the show notes. So if you want to have a conversation with me about how I can help, click on that link and book a time for us to talk. And while you're checking out your own Instagram feed, are we friends on Instagram yet? If we're not, click on my link and befriend me because I want to chat. Let's get into the DMs. My handle on Instagram is @IamJo.Ingram and I will see you there. As always, have an inspired action week. Take care. Bye now.